Hey, what's going on? Greetings, everyone. It's The Truth Will Rise. Here on the road, driving on this sunny day in my hometown of Albany, Georgia on vacation, but I had to make this video based on some things I had seen in the news, and just felt the need to make this video. So let's just jump right into it. You know, you hear so many people, and rightfully so, complain about the educational system, amongst other systems in this country that I'll touch on shortly. But the educational system, saying that it's underfunded, that there's not enough teachers, the children, the test scores, which is so stupid, but I'll touch on that later, are going down, and overall the system is not working. And they bring up a lot of valid points, and they're right. And you hear some of the solutions of, the schools need more money, need this, need that, and some of that may be very well true. But I'm going to come at it from a different angle that no one is really, at least out in the mainstream world, talking about. There's many people who are seeking, who are truth seekers and knowledge seekers, have been trying to bring this to light to the people for the longest. Is that system, and I'm speaking of the educational system right now, is not meant to work, at least not from our perspective. And no one ever really thinks about that. That you think about, if we want to go to war with someone, they talk about how the country's broke, we're in debt, yada, yada, yada. But yet we find the money to build bombs and airplanes and guns to go and kill people. So wouldn't it stand to reason that if we've got money to kill people, there's obviously money to educate people? But the point is that the educational system is not meant to work. That it's producing exactly what it's planned. The idea is not for your children to be educated. It's to teach them, how to be like the worker class on the movie Metropolis. If you haven't seen that, I'd highly recommend you see it. But and the reason why I say this is so many things that have happened. Now you see these schools going to uniforms. And if you think about it, it's not because what they're saying, oh, it'll cut down on kids being teased and all of that, which is not true. Kids are kids. They roast each other. They fry each other. That's what we do. You can dress them all alike and they'll still, find something. So it's not about that. So if that's what you're thinking, you probably should dispense of that idea, because, you're being fooled. It's about, turning out, these factory assembly line schools where they want a bunch of people who think alike and act alike and talk alike and look alike. And plus, it's to get them ready to wear other uniforms later in life. So it's really a preconditioning program. That, and the fact that 99% of the things that you learn in school are not applicable to any type of real success in life. Because the whole thing of school, is to avoid failure. And while everyone wants to succeed, whether it's sports or business or whatnot, you oftentimes learn more from a loss than you do from a win. So rather than them embracing that message, all they want you learn oftentimes to the detriment of the children. They'll learn how to do just enough to get by. You're taught not to ask questions, not to question that authority who is in the classroom, to just go along with what the program you're being given, which, those people in education, they can tell you anything. And, it's not about true learning. It's just about, I'm going to give you this material, and then in 2 weeks, give it right back to me, which is, not applicable in real life. They teach a skewed perspective of things like history, to where you have an entire generation growing up thinking that things are one way, and in fact, they're absolutely, 180 degrees to the contrary, you know. And now you see things, just ridiculous things, like children getting kicked out of school for wearing American flags on Cinco de Mayo. Get out of here, man. How ridiculous is this? Or, children getting kicked out of school for hugging, or, you can't have recess. And so they're producing a generation of weak-willed, weak-minded worker bees who don't ask questions and just follow orders. And while the people are saying, hey, we need more money for the schools, yada, 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 the point of the matter is that, hey, the reason why the schools don't work is because they're not meant to work. Because if you have an entire generation of educated, critically thinking, free-thinking, independent people, it's almost impossible to subjugate them. And since the PTBs know that, that's why you have the factory school systems that don't teach your children anything. That is why you have more and more people now who are homeschooling their children. And, you see moves to shut that down, because they know the true way of learning, more or less, oftentimes is doing, rather than having someone sit up there and just spew a bunch of facts that may or may not even be facts. And then let's translate that to the political system, which you now hear about all the Republicans this and the Democrats that, and how this group is going to get voted out, and how the Democrats are turning out not to do what they said they were going to do, and the president's going back on his word, and so on and so forth, which many of us told you 3 and 4 years ago, going into the election, this is exactly what was going to happen. But you didn't listen, and so many of you are still blindly supporting these parties and rationalizing their crap because you're blind and you're fooled. But what I'm here, and so many others are here to tell you, that the political system, once again, is not meant to work. If it was working, you wouldn't hear things like during an election, well, I'm voting for the lesser of two evils. A statement like that, even in the back of your mind, that at some level, this system is jacked up. But rather than asking yourself some critical questions of why is this, who benefits, and things of that nature, you just go along and figure, hey, well, I'll just vote for this guy is not as big a liar as that guy, so I'll vote for him. Rather than really saying, well, wait a minute, why is it you vote for one major party or the other every 2, 4, 6 years, and yet not only does anything never change, but it actually gets worse. And they get you bogged down in arguing, this group against that group, this party against that party, and all it's doing is keeping the people divided and infighting amongst themselves. But I try to tell you people that, and you don't want to listen. You think that if a person, for instance, is a Democrat and they're speaking out maybe against Republicans and Democrats, you figure that they're with the other party rather than listening to what they're saying. Because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And all you so-called Democrats and Republicans, that's exactly what you're doing. You keep voting for these people, who are all usually rich people who come from the same schools, the same families, the same, cliques, and you expect something to change, because, the last group had a elephant on their lapel and this guy has a donkey, or, they're tickling your ears with something you think you want to hear. It's no different than what those crooked preachers do on TV, telling you what you want to hear, but meanwhile they're the ones that's really gaining. And you don't think that the political system is jacked up and not meant to work? If you don't think, let an average person who's not rich run for president or run for for local office or state office. You can't do it. And now that corporations can give unlimited funds to these elections, you think it's going to get better? You think an average person who's bright and intelligent and really has the best in mind for the people is going to be able to actually run for office and win now? No, because now these people are going to have the corporations, which have these monies, oftentimes there's drug money laundered through them, to these politicians, and so they've got almost endless capital at their disposal, and once they get in office, these companies, they're going to want their ROI. And so that's why you see so much of what's going on. Nothing changes because the system is not meant to work, at least not for the people. And you people really have to understand that and stop getting so emotionally and financially invested in things that don't work for you. All the placard waving and screaming, it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, these systems are not meant to work for you. You could put as much money in the educational system as you want, but the fact of the matter is, it's not meant for you and I. It's not meant for our children to be educated. If it was, then you would see presidents and senators and CEOs and some of these rich people who put their children in public schools, and they would go to school with the meat of society, so to speak, but they don't. They're in these private insulated schools where they're getting taught certain things and basically how to continue the family business of subjugation. So in all my videos, the point that we're really going after is for people to start to really think and to start to ask some questions and really look at what's going on around